So I didn't plan an intro at all, since I didn't really plan on making this video, but it's a school assignment, so it got made. So I need to work on intros if I'm gonna continue with this. So I started off with this Gigi Grant doll that I got secondhand. And it does have a stain on its cheek, but I don't know what it is, and I wasn't able to remove it with acetone. And I really love both her face mold and her body mold, so it's almost a shame that I have to cover it up with her clothes. I had already made some accessories before starting filming, so I made her this tiny witch hat with a ribbon to keep it on her head, since my doll's gonna be a little forced witch. So I made her this tiny broomstick using a small branch, an acorn thing, some yarn, and some other stuff I found around that I could decorate with. And I don't know where I should put this yet, but I made this tiny bottle that I'm probably going to work into her outfit in some way, but I don't know how yet. And for her hair, I made this tiny wig out of yarn. And it's not the prettiest one I ever made, but it will make do, and the hat will cover up my worst mistakes. And I think the messy style will suit her really well. After sealing the doll with Liquid X matte medium with my airbrush, I started drawing on the eyebrows with brown pastels. And after that I moved on to the rest of blushing and eyeshadows. I got a really nice result with the pastels, and I sealed her again. On the next layer I had a lot of problems. The pencils I was using, they were slipping and I wasn't able to build up any color. So I just added some more pastels while thinking what to do. When I usually do my face ups, I will use a wet paintbrush and use that to apply the watercolors on. But I usually do that on like the third or fourth layer, but here I had to go with that just on a second. And the day after I was done with the doll, I got to know why the sealant didn't work. So I was still able to finish the doll before the bad weather was started. And I did do the whole thing just one day. So I just kept building up the colors and adding a waterline. And I turned the corners of her mouth up a little to make her smile a little more. And it worked out really great with her face mold. I wanted her lips to look more natural, so instead of building up the colors with my pencils, I just used my pastels. And the black pencil I had was one of the few pencils that added some color, but it really wasn't great. So I colored in her eyes a dark red and added some brown as a shade. And while waiting on that to dry, I just worked on other parts of the eye. I had some light warm orange-ish brown as a lighter part of the eye on the bottom, and as a small experiment I added some green to the side that would unfortunately be covered up with glitter later. After all that, I started adding blacks to the pupils and the top lash line, but for a bottom lash line I just kept it dark brown. To complement all the gold in her accessories and her future dress, I want to add a little bit of gold just above the black on her eye. And even though I don't like using acrylics, it was the only thing I could use to get the gold there. But I did use some gold pastels as eyeshadow and highlighter, and it wasn't really noticeable in the video, but it wasn't the effect I wanted for the sharp eyeliner on her. And since I don't like using acrylics, I use some white gouache paint for the highlights and for the whites in her eyes. And of course, more golden shimmer all over the face. After all of this, I could finally call her face done. And since I use gouache paints, I like to add 2 coats of sealant before adding all the glitters and gloss. So I started out with these cute tiny green hearts, but they were way too big for her eye. So I added some diamond shaped iridescent ones instead, that I use for most of my dolls. I also added some golden glitters to her eyes, and some other glitters and rhinestones to her temples. I added the lashes off camera since they're quite challenging to do. And I added some Tamiya acrylic glass for her eyes and her lips. And with all that, I could finally call her done. The stain on her cheek is still there, but it's gonna get covered up with her hair anyway. I didn't have any time to make her clothes, so I just looked through all the clothes I had from before. And I picked out Rebecca's clothes along with Laguna's skirt, so that's just a little bit more color. And for the shoes, I wanted to use either Cleo's or Scalita's shoes, but I ended up using Scalita's since Cleo's was just too much gold. I do want to make her a dress or something, but the ones I have here took way too long to make. And I do have a link for it in the description for the pattern. I also made clothes for my little adventure, and they were a lot easier to make. And I even made shoes for her. And with all that, I have a finished doll. It was a lot of fun working on this doll, and just recording the whole process made it into more of a challenge. And I might make more of these videos, but I had to find a better filming solution, as one that doesn't make loose footage and gives me a better angle. Just having footage that I can use is good enough for me right now. I can't imagine this doll being a mix between a witch and a fairy. Like, she uses things she finds in the woods to make her clothes and equipment. But I feel like giving her wings would be a little too much. But not all fairies need them. And I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing, as I might make more of these. And follow me on Instagram for more of my dolls and updates on my little witch fairy.